You think rendezvous means fun and fortune? 1837, Green River. Mountain men reunite, exhausted stocks replenished, exotic guests like missionaries and English lords doling out prizes. Delaware and Shawnee trade peacefully, packs of pelts shipped east. But Blackfoot eyes watch from the hills, turning opulent optimism into raid reality. It's history's cruel joke. Score the loot, then fight to keep your hair. Jim Bridger's outfit pulled out of Jackson's Hole, heading toward the Green River, laying traps along the way. The rocky ground turned brutal, chewing up the horses' hooves until they limped like drunks after a bender. The trappers improvised rawhide shoes for the animals, wrapping them tight to keep the expedition moving. It was makeshift engineering at its finest, or at least functional enough to avoid a full halt in hostile country. Supplies were low, morale teetered, but the promise of beaver pelts kept everyone pushing forward, eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble from the ever-present Blackfeet. Rose, ever the gambler, eyed a small creek rumored thick with beaver, though it sat smack in Blackfeet territory, a place where whispers of raids turned men cautious. He split off alone, ditching his lame horse for a stubborn mule that kicked more than cooperated. The decision raised eyebrows back at camp, but Rose figured solitude beat sharing spoils, or worse, sharing an arrow. He rode out under a vast sky, the kind that swallowed ambitions whole, betting his scalp on quick traps and quicker luck. In the Rockies, such boldness often paid off, or it collected interest in blood. 5 miles from camp, Rose spotted an elk grazing unaware, dropped it with a clean shot, and carved out the fatty ribs for a few days' meals while packing the rest. He reached the creek after dusk, beaver signs everywhere like invitations to fortune. Traps set, meat hung high in the bushes, mule tethered, he rolled into his blanket amid the undergrowth and drifted off. The night air hummed with potential profit, but also the subtle warnings of wilderness, where every rustle could be wind or predator. Rose slept soundly at first, his rifle close, dreaming perhaps of pelts stacking high back in St. Louis. A shrill whinny from the mule yanked Rose awake, rifle in hand, heart pounding. There, in the dim moonlight, a massive grizzly bear, locals called it Caleb for its notorious raids, lumbered off with the elk meat like a thief in the night. Too dark to chase without risking a mauling, Rose cursed under his breath and settled back, the irony not lost on him, out here hunting beaver, only to become the hunted over supper scraps. Dawn crept in slowly, the bear long gone, leaving tracks that mocked his vigilance. Near morning, Rose hauled in his traps, grinning at 4 prime beavers, skins promising good trade. As he worked the pelts, a whiff of smoke hit him, sharp and unnatural. He packed fast, mounted the mule, and crested a nearby hill for a look. Horror struck. A Blackfeet camp of nearly 200 souls sprawled 200 yards upstream, fires flickering like eyes in the fading dark. Unseen yet, he wheeled around, racing back, ears straining for war whoops that never came. The escape felt like borrowed time, a cosmic jest where survival hinged on shadows. Topping a ridge near his own camp, Rose froze at 2 Blackfeet scouts prone on the ground, spying intently. They bolted upright at his approach, fleeing like ghosts. Rose spurred the mule home, beaver skins bouncing, pondering how close he'd danced to disaster. Back among friends, he recounted the tale with a wry grin, the group chuckling at the absurdity. One man's beaver quest nearly sparking a full-scale scrap. In the mountains, such near misses built legends or graves. The 1837 rendezvous hit like a lifeline, a grand spectacle amid exhaustion. Supplies had dwindled to nothing since the Humboldt trek. Blankets shredded. Ammo scarce. Bridger fretted openly, knowing a Blackfeet clash in this state spelled doom. Their rifles more decorative than deadly. Trappers gathered, ragged but hopeful, the air thick with anticipation for the St. Louis caravan's arrival. It was the West's version of resupply, where desperation met commerce, and everyone prayed the wagons beat the raids. Right on schedule, the caravan rolled in, unloading crates of essentials, sparking laughter and frolic that drowned out worries. The camp transformed overnight. From grim survival to bustling marketplace, deals struck over pipes and stories. Exotic guests added flair. Missionary Gray returned with his wife and 4 women bound for Columbia River outposts, preaching salvation amid fur profits. Then came Sir William Stewart, dubbed captain by the trappers, on his second jaunt, trailing fine horses and servants like a lord touring his domain. Stewart's generosity flowed freer than whiskey, hosting a lavish spread that drew every trapper in. He doled out prizes. Prime horses for Bridger, Carson, and Meek. Old acquaintances from his first visit, plus trinkets for others. The feast hummed with gratitude, men toasting a benefactor who turned hardship into holiday. Rose sampled water and crackers, rarities in these peaks, the group savoring them like delicacies from another world, a brief taste of civilization amid endless wilds. Trade boomed with Delaware and Shawnee arrivals, swapping goods in droves. Bridger dispatched over 100 beaver packs eastward, bundled with buffalo robes and grizzly hides, fortunes on the hoof. Revelry ruled. Drinking bouts, rowdy carousing, horse races kicking up dust. The rendezvous pulsed with life, a rare convergence where foes paused, profits soared, and the mountains felt almost tamed. Yet Blackfeet shadows lingered, a reminder that opulence invited envy, turning celebration into potential calamity. Rendezvous wrapped, Bridger summoned Rose and Carson for a strategy huddle on the fall hunt's path. Pipes lit, maps scratched in dirt. Options weighed like pelts at trade. Safe routes promised slim pickings, risky ones fat beaver hauls. The air hung heavy with post-celebration haze, men nursing hangovers from Stewart's largesse, but focus sharpened on survival's next chapter. Bridger's outfit needed a win after lean times, and talk turned to bold moves that could refill coffers or empty graves. In the West, such councils often blurred lines between planning and provocation, where one wrong turn invited arrows instead of abundance. Rose pitched Wind River hard, streams from those peaks teeming with beaver like forgotten gold mines. Others nodded. Visions of prime pelts dancing. But realism bit. The route sliced straight through Blackfeet heartland, a gauntlet of raids and reprisals. Bridger mulled it, knowing his men thrived on scraps and scraps alone wouldn't cut it. The proposition dangled danger like bait, and for these trappers, a scrap with Blackfeet wasn't deterrent, it was draw. Think frontier poker. High stakes thrilled more than scared, turning potential peril into promised payoff. They sealed it, Wind River set as opener for the season's hunt. Betting lives on beaver bounty. Bridger's crew launched toward Wind River Mountains, first days uneventful, trails winding through valleys without whisper of threat. Horses plodded, traps clanked, men swapped tales of rendezvous excesses. Stewart's gifts still fresh in saddlebags, routine settled like dust, scouts ranging ahead, main camp trailing steady, no ambushes, no signs, just the Rockies' indifferent sprawl, lulling senses that should stay sharp. In this expanse, peace felt fleeting, a setup for the punchline where wilderness always laughed last. Day 4 shifted gears. Rose, Meek, 30 or 40 trappers, plus artist Stanley, pushed upstream, outpacing the main group by days. Fresh trails screamed recent passage. A massive Blackfeet village on the move. Lodge poles dragged, fires cold but recent. Dead bodies littered the path, smallpox's grim harvest, victims discarded like warnings. The band fled upward, chasing cooler air to outrun the plague, desperation etched in every track. Trappers exchanged glances, rifles gripped tighter, the disease's shadow adding layers to enemy proximity, where infection rivaled arrows for lethality. Soon, scouts spotted 150 Blackfeet warriors encamped in a tight ravine, cliffs boxing them like a natural corral, village half a mile beyond. Passage meant confrontation. No detours in this choke point. Debate flared brief. Wait for Bridger or strike preemptive? Boldness won. Trappers opting to ignite the fuse themselves. Horses left behind as they crawled cliffside. From bush cover, rifles cracked, shots raining into the camp, chaos erupting below. Blackfeet scattered, returned fire sporadic at first, unaware of numbers above, the ambush a calculated gamble in terrain that favored the hidden. Blackfeet rallied, undaunted by unknowns, scrambling higher up cliffs to flank from superior ground. Bullets whizzed, positions reversed in hours, trappers now exposed. Retreat scrambled through underbrush, back to camp, hearts racing from the near reversal. The skirmish's joke. Start a fight to avoid one, end up running anyway, scalps intact but egos bruised. Dawn broke, main camp caught up, battle reignited with full force, strategy split. Bulk of company snaked along upper cliffs with pack animals, shielded from below, while Rose's vanguard, bolstered to 50, charged the ravine floor to pin warriors. Diversion bought passage, rifles barking to hold attention low as horses threaded high paths. Blackfeet pressed back, fierce exchanges echoing off rocks, the plan's precision turning numerical edge into tactical triumph. In this ballet of bullets, coordination mocked the prior day's haste, proving numbers alone didn't dictate dust-ups. Fierce volleys forced Blackfeet withdrawal, warriors melting toward their village, leaving the ravine clear. Trappers claimed the field, no pursuit, content with safe transit, casualties light on their side. The clash a footnote in endless feuds, where victory meant moving on, not conquest. The irony lingered. Fight for beaver, not land. Yet every shot deepened. Divides in shared wilds. Bridger's outfit pressed to Wind River unmolested further, streams welcoming with beaver signs aplenty, the skirmish fading like campfire smoke. Wind River's beaver ran thick, streams choked with dams that promised pelts by the pack, yet the fall hunt unraveled like a poorly tied trap line. Blackfeet bands prowled the edges, ghosts in the timber, eyes fixed on lone trappers or unguarded horses. They struck at stragglers, stampeding mounts into the night, turning what should have been a harvest into harassment. Bridger's men tallied losses daily, not just in fur but in focus, the constant vigilance sapping energy better spent on skinning. It was the West's version of corporate sabotage, except the competitors carried bows and grudges forged over generations of encroachment. The interference forced trappers into heavy squads, groups of 10 or more fanning out like infantry patrols, rifles at the ready instead of relaxed beaver hunts. Even then, traps vanished overnight, yanked by unseen hands or trampled in raids. Productivity plummeted, hauls a fraction of expectations, as men spent more time watching flanks than working lines. The irony bit deep. Abundance surrounded them, yet fear chained their efforts, turning potential riches into frustrating scraps. In modern terms, it mirrored a startup boom derailed by hackers, where opportunity evaporated under relentless pressure. For the Blackfeet, the situation proved deadlier still. Their scouting parties caught in crosshairs time and again. Several sneaked too close, silhouettes against the firelight, only to meet rifle volleys that dispatched them swiftly to whatever afterlife they envisioned. Trappers dubbed it the happy hunting grounds, a euphemism laced with frontier fatalism, as bodies piled up in the underbrush. The skirmishes weren't grand battles, just opportunistic shots that underscored the imbalance. Blackfeet sought horses and scalps, trappers defended with superior firepower, tipping the scales in a game neither side fully controlled. Ammo dwindled faster than anticipated, powder horns emptying amid the defensive pops, leaving Bridger pacing the camp with growing unease. Without resupply, the outfit faced shutdown. Traps idle, men idle, winter looming like an unpaid debt. Options narrowed to desperation, as no nearby posts offered relief, and venturing out meant braving the very foes draining their stocks. Bridger's worry spread like frost, his leadership tested in the quiet moments when gunfire paused, revealing the vulnerability beneath the bravado. By late October, Bridger dispatched Tom Briggs with 10 hands and pack horses toward Fort Laramie. Orders crisp. Grab essentials and hustle back before snow sealed the passes. The group vanished into the horizon, hopes riding on their swift return, but optimism faded as days stretched without word. It was a calculated risk, splitting forces in enemy country, yet necessity overrode caution, the company's pulse hinging on those distant wagons. Winter crashed early, storms howling before mid-November, forcing the main group to winter quarters along the Yellowstone, huddling against blizzards that buried trails. By month's end, streams froze solid, drifts piled high, transforming the landscape into a white prison. Travel halted, supplies stretched thin. The cold a silent ally to isolation. Bridger scanned the skies daily, the premature freeze mocking their timelines, as if nature conspired with the Blackfeet to tighten the noose. A splinter group of trappers went missing in the whiteout. Horses bogged down in drifts, men presumed hunkered or worse. Bridger's alarm escalated, councils turning tense, the company's safety fracturing under the weight of uncertainty. Whispers of abandonment circulated, morale cracking like ice under boots, the lost party's fate a grim reminder of winter's impartial cruelty. After heated debates, Rose stepped up, volunteering for the Laramie run if someone joined. His offer hanging in the frigid air like a challenge. Silence followed at first, no takers for the suicide trek. But 2 days later, David Woods relented, his nod sealing the pact. The pair embodied the trapper ethos. Push limits or perish, their decision a spark in the gloom. Gear was sparse. Rifles, ammo, buffalo robes, blankets, snowshoes, and 2 days buffalo rations, essentials stripped to survival basics. No frills, just tools against the elements and enemies, the load light to outpace doom. They saddled up amid farewells tinged with doubt, the camp watching them fade into the snow, betting lives on grit over gear. The 300-mile slog began through mountains blanketed in snow, depths hitting 50 or 60 feet in spots, where grizzlies or Blackfeet lurked as equal threats. Progress crawled, each step a gamble against avalanches or ambushes, the wild indifferent to their urgency. It evoked today's extreme expeditions, minus sponsors and satellites, pure man versus mapless mayhem. Day 1 netted 25 miles. Camp dug near a creek, a snow pit lined with pine boughs for bedding, robes wrapped tight against the bite. Sleep came hard but deep, yet morning revealed strained insteps from snowshoes, feet barely movable until rubbed raw. They pressed on, the pain a toll for haste, bodies protesting the unnatural gait in a land that rewarded endurance over speed. By day 2, exhaustion capped them at 10 miles, feet failing on a riverbank with thinner snow. As they collapsed on a log, deer wandered opposite the stream, Rose's shot felling one clean. They gathered dry wood, built a blaze, and devoured venison steaks, juices sizzling like rare luxury. Fire stoked high, they slept between flames and log, warmth warding off the night's chill, a brief reprieve in the ordeal. Next dawn, soreness pinned them in place, another day lost to recovery. Muscles mending in enforced idleness. Come morning, Rose improvised buffalo skin pads under snowshoe straps, the fix working wonders, eliminating chafes from then on. Innovation born of necessity, it smoothed their stride, turning hindrance into history's footnote. 2 weeks in, Sweetwater appeared. Then North Platte days later, Fort Laramie materializing 2 days shy of Christmas, joy surging at the sight. The walls promised sanctuary, a beacon after endless white. Inside, the lost trappers surfaced safe. Winter's grip deterring their return, fear outweighing loyalty. Rose and woods basked in hospitality, feasts and fireside tales easing the journey's scars, rest a earned commodity in the fort's embrace. Christmas dawned at Fort Laramie in the usual frontier fashion, a mix of cheer and makeshift mayhem under snow-laden walls. The garrison hauled out a cannon, stuffing it with powder, then cramming in old deerskin pants and worn moccasins to amplify the boom, turning holiday salute into explosive spectacle. Laughter echoed as men gathered, bets placed on the blast's reach, the fort's isolation making such antics the highlight of isolation. It was the West's nod to tradition, where gunpowder substituted for fireworks, and every shot carried a whiff of risk, blending festivity with the ever-present edge of accident. The cannoneer balked at firing, muttering predictions of disaster from the overloaded barrel, his hesitation drawing jeers from the crowd. Dave Crow, Rose's close companion and a trapper known for bold streaks, snatched a glowing rod from the fire and touched it off anyway. The cannon erupted in shards, metal flying like shrapnel from a battlefield mishap, one piece shearing through Crow's leg with surgical cruelty. Screams cut the merriment short, the holiday gun's joke turning literal, as blood stained the snow, transforming celebration into chaos. In that instant, the fort's jovial bubble burst, revealing how thin the line ran between revelry and regret in these remote outposts. Crow lay writhing, and a self-proclaimed medic stepped up, wrapping the wound tight in bandages meant to staunch but instead strangled circulation. Rose, obligated to tend his horses up the chugwater where grass held out against the freeze, left his friend in those hands, trusting experience that proved illusory. Days later, upon return, news hit like a gut punch. Crow dead from gangrene, the bindings too constrictive, rot setting in unchecked. The irony twisted sharp. A man felled not by Blackfeet arrows or grizzly claws, but by amateur care in a supposed sanctuary, underscoring the mountain's myriad ways to claim lives beyond the obvious threats. Rose deemed that winter his most agreeable in the Rockies, the fort's routines a welcome lull after endless treks, with hot meals, card games, and stories swapped by firelight. No raids pierced the peace, snow insulating against intruders, allowing time for repairs and reflection amid the drifts. It felt like a pause button on peril, where men mended gear and spirits, the Chugwater's banks offering solitude that bordered on serenity. Yet, even in this respite, whispers of gold stirred, hinting at shifts that could upend the fur trade's dominance. Enter Marcelino, a Mexican trapper and scout, returning from the Chugwater with a vial holding an ounce of gold dust, grains glinting like forbidden secrets. Skeptics scoffed, labeling it fool's pyrite, but Marcelino insisted, drawing on family mining lore from south of the border, where he'd toiled in genuine veins. The dust sparked debates around campfires, trappers poking at the sample, visions of placers eclipsing beaver pursuits. It was history's subtle pivot, a glimmer foretelling rushes that would flood these lands with prospectors, trading pelts for picks in an economic reshuffle that left fur men sidelined. Spring thawed the trails, and Rose rallied a crew to haul supplies back to Bridger, 15 pack horses and mules groaning under goods vital for the company's revival. A week's travel passed smooth, rivers swelling but fordable, the group alert yet untested. Noon on a steep ridge brought the interruption. 50 Gros Ventres warriors materialized, not as ferocious as Blackfeet, but arrogant when odds favored them, halting the column with poised lances. The encounter hung tense, a standoff where numbers suggested leverage, the Indians' demeanor blending curiosity with covetousness. Their chief advanced for parley, tone commanding as he demanded the animals and cargo in exchange for safe passage, framing it as charity for his needy band. Refusal, he implied, invited consequences, his words laced with bluff that masked underlying caution. The lead trapper paled, retreating to whisper surrender as salvation, fear clouding judgment in the face of spears. It was the classic frontier fold, where intimidation often won without a shot, preying on isolation's doubts. Rose boiled at the capitulation, rallying his mates with reminders of their winter odyssey. 300 miles braved for these very loads, the American Fur Company's fate tied to delivery. He assessed the Gros Ventres coolly, outnumbering trappers 3-1 but armed sparsely, rifles scarce amid bows and arrows, their bravado a thin veil over vulnerability. Rose vowed negotiation first, fight if pressed, bullets before booty, his stance flipping the script from retreat to resolve. Persuasion took hold, most aligning with Rose's fire, appointing him and Marcelino as envoys. Meeting midway, Rose countered the chief's demands through an interpreter, offering friendship tokens while affirming readiness to die defending packs, boasting past Blackfeet routes against steeper odds. The rhetoric landed like lead, the chief deflating, retreating crestfallen to his warriors. In compromise, trappers proffered knives and blankets, a pittance that satisfied honor without surrender, the band parting ways grudgingly. Days later, Rosebud's banks reunited them with Bridger's outfit, supplies unloading amid whoops of relief, the longed-for ammo and goods reigniting camp vitality. The delivery capped Rose's saga, a loop of risks repaid in camaraderie, the mountain's harsh humor evident in every narrow escape. Rose's odyssey through Blackfeet shadows and winter wastes ended in reunion, supplies securing the trapper's edge against relentless foes. Yet, such victories masked the broader erosion, fur empires crumbling as gold whispers grew louder. History smirks at these fleeting triumphs, native bands pushed further by the tide of intruders. Subscribe to Native Legends and History Stories, comment your thoughts, and hit notifications for more untold tales.